This is the Ninja Rob Podcast with Marco Perazzo and Tim Carpenter. The podcast for the true martial artist.
I think we need to add Devin's name to that intro. This way he'll feel compelled to hang out more. People really seem to like it a bit more when he's on the shows.
Yeah, I think I do too.
Yeah.
I don't want people to think I can fight that good.
I refer to you as an uncredited third host.
I want to make sure that when you all see, if you was to ever see us out, punch on the biggest white guy first.
Go in size order. I say if you're going to attack us as a podcast, go in size order.
I don't like this idea.
Well, I mean, we see how you...
If let's say we were out, if we were to get into any situation, it would not be me start. It would most likely be you.
No, how many fights have you ever seen me start?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so that means zero.
But I've seen the way you can sort of push people's buttons.
Yes.
And the way you refuse to accept any perceived slight to
100%
to yourself.
Yes.
Whether correct or not.
Okay, I agree.
You know what I mean? So I could see if we were to get into a situation, it would definitely be you creating the situation or instigating.
And hopefully getting you attacked
Hopefully
first.
getting me attacked.
Okay, because as long as we know what the order is. And then it would go, Devin gets the secondary attack, and then I'm there to wipe up the floor with what's left.
So I'm making sure that they skip me because I fight the least. I have the least skill set in fighting.
Well, you might have the most street fights.
Yeah, that's probably 100% true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have many.
I mean, either.
Yeah,
I have a
that's
lot
not
of
Bouncing stuff doesn't count as
Yeah, it
fights.
doesn't. No.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the Ninja Rob Podcast. This is Marco Perazzo,
And Tim Carpenter.
also with Devin Wade. He says he's going to hang out for a little bit, which is fun. I know the listeners love it when Devin's here.
I'd like to get his predictions.
Well,
on
he's
that.
definitely, I think out of all of us, he's the biggest MMA fan that we got.
You think so?
I think he'd be a bigger MMA
Yes.
fan than I am.
You don't care about it anymore.
I don't think so.
I think you guys are so in the game that you don't give a fuck about these guys.
I would say I'm not like I guess I'm not like necessarily a fan of too many fighters, but I love watching fights. But I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Because you if you feel like you could hold your own against whoever
Yeah.
or beat obviously a lot of guys, you can't look at them the same way where I'm
Right.
like I go in there, they're all killing me. So
Right. And it looks like some really amazing fights this weekend.
Yeah. Who do you got for? We'll go.
Okay, go for it.
What order should we go in? The order that we would get hit in.
this is coming out. Hold on. So this is coming out afterwards.
Yeah.
though.
So that's
all right.
fine.
We'll
Yeah.
just now.
We got to live with it.
Oh, okay.
People
so
will be able to tell who's the more intelligent fan.
Who's the better predictor?
I have a because I'm terrible at predicting fights.
Yes, you are.
I'm awful at it.
Yeah.
Listen, there's only one fight to worry about predicting.
What's that?
That's Masvidal.
Masvidal? Who do you got?
I want Nate Diaz.
Right.
I really do.
Most people's hearts seem to be with Diaz.
I'd rather it be Nate. It's just I'd rather it be him, man. He like I said.
But if you had to put money down, who you betting on? So you didn't come out of the gate and say Nate?
Yeah, that's the very.
No.
I honestly can't tell. I'm being honest.
Okay.
And maybe not being a fighting expert.
Somebody's got a gun to your head.
Right.
right now.
And the gun to your
you
head
have to
kills
pick
Tim
one.
Carpenter.
Oh, shit.
No.
Masvidal.
Masvidal?
Yeah.
You?
I already
gonna-
put out Masvidal.
Since I like to be wrong a lot when I predict fights, I'm going to pick Diaz.
Okay. All
I
right.
say Diaz by TKO round 4.
So, and you might be better apt to answer this question. How's Masvidal in long fights? Because you could see what he could do in short fights and, like explosive, knocked out Till, knocked out
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Askren.
think anybody has I can't say anybody, but we know that the cardio on Nate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Nate is good. The dude's been. I didn't know that he was eating like nothing but trees and shit since.
No, he eats meat too.
Does
I
he?
think
Oh,
he eats like fish and eggs and stuff.
Oh look! He's
Pretty sure.
look. See, he said I'm an insider. I'll chill with him.
Right.
We've wrapped the burger together. but the dude, he's not going to stop or pretty much slow down in the fight. So
Right.
that's one of my reasons. I know that it could be some kind of vicious KO or something
Right.
like that. But
Not
I don't really see
from Masvidal, not from Diaz.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
If it's a vicious KO, it'll be in the 4th round or 5th round. You know what I mean? Like for Diaz.
like the Robbie Lawler type
Right,
situation
right.
when his brother beat up Lawler. Okay,
That was the first round.
but kind of wore him down. You know, wasn't it?
That was actually
early
yeah. That was like Nick Diaz's like soul like
first round knockout.
flash like
Yeah,
big time. It was like a light punch, but it put him out cold.
man, those guys,
Basically.
they're the dudes that should be fighting.
Yeah.
The Diaz brothers, even Masvidal. Now there doesn't seem to have been a lot of, and I didn't follow too much of this. There was not too much beef.
There's two real dudes fighting. Like they
guys. It seem they respect each other. Is that is that what I'm getting from it?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
No shit talking. Just kind of like
It's shit
There's
talking,
no
but it's
need for it.
different,
It's
but
weird because
different.
there's no need for shit talking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is like one of the few fights where like people are just super excited about it. They don't need to say a word.
This is the thing that I always wondered why people would do this, right? If I'm fighting Tim, I'd rather talk good about Tim before we fight than to say, Tim Carpenter's a fucking bum. I'm gonna expose this fucking guy. Because when I lose, then I'm saying I lost to a bum. But if I say, Tim Carpenter's one of the best fighters in the world, and I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna knock him the fuck out. Now, this makes more sense, right? So these dudes are using that approach where it's like, I'm going in the ring with one of the baddest motherfuckers, and you're gonna find out that I'm the best.
Yeah.
It's like that's more of a win-win. Like,
well, you know who used to do that all the time is Floyd. Floyd would always build up his
Yes.
opponents but also say, "But I'm gonna fuck him up."
right,
Yeah.
Right, you know.
right. Yeah, it makes way more sense. I wish like rappers would do that too. Like don't be like, this dude's really a fake gangster. He's never. He should be like, no, I know he killed people and everything, but guess what?
He's got bodies.
I don't care.
What about Till and Gastelum?
Well, let's get into Gastelum. Did he make weight or did he not make weight? Did you see what happened?
I didn't, man.
Definitely didn't make weight.
So you remember Cormier when Cormier pushed down on the towel? Do you remember the controversy with that? He couldn't make weight. They put a towel in front of you when you get naked. And when he was standing on the scale, Cormier pushes down on the towel to make weight. So now the athletic commissions are not letting you do that anymore. Gastelum's trainer, Rafael Cordeiro's famous dude from Brazil, I think he was a shootbox guy,
Rushes to get real close.
gets behind Gastelum. You could see Gastelum put his elbow on his trainer's shoulder as he's standing on the scale.
Yeah. And it made no sense the way he like. I'm actually it'd be interesting to see any of the other Kelvin Gastelum's other weigh-ins, see how he stands when he weighs in. Because this one he went like he put his elbows like he flared his elbows out enough so he could get it on Cordero. And he was like it was a very weird stance. So it'd be interesting to see like how he normally weighs.
Because you'll
in.
see guys like extend their arms out as if the scale won't pick up their hands or something. Yeah.
But and I tried the when I saw Cormier do it, I wondered like how much weight you could take off with a towel. I took off 7 pounds just.
What?
With a light touch on the towel. And when you watch the Gastelum video, you see the guy that's reading the scale does like a double take at the scale, which means it probably went 170, then it went to 184 because you can take a ton of weight off just with a little pressure on anything else.
Now sometimes do
and he also
they
got-
weigh in before hand?
The weigh-in is so they do a real weigh-in early
And then
in
a
the morning
ceremonial one.
and a ceremonial one at where they have this face down.
Right.
Okay.
But the
Face offs.
face down. I like to call it a face down.
Oh yeah, face down has something different.
Oh, and the other thing that didn't make sense is that he weighed in at 184 and he got naked to do it.
Right. You would.
So like if he gets a pound, it's a non-title fight, so he could have weighed in at 186, so there'd be no reason for him to strip down naked. You know what I mean? So he stripped down naked, you usually come in at like 185.1 or something.
right.
You know what I mean?
Your shorts are still wet. Yeah. That's yeah. So
There's a lot of, but
and
I think he got fined.
I had to weigh in naked a few times, man. It sucks.
Yeah.
what were you weighing for?
Wrestling.
Oh
yeah. Even as kids, they had us. We were some naked kids in there, man.
So Gastelum used to fight at 170 and had
Yeah,
trouble making weight.
I don't think he ever made weight a couple times, but he had a lot of tough.
And he doesn't look shredded at 185. Like, does he have to move up to 205? Is that,
I don't think so. I think he just has to be.
Is
He should be fighting at 85.
But this would be an interesting fight then, Till and Gastelum.
I got Gastelum.
You got Gastelum?
Yeah.
Who do you got, Till or Gastelum?
Yeah, I'm going with Gastelum.
I don't think people are scared of Till anymore.
No, that he's been exposed.
I don't like the word exposed, but he's been the
He's-
been like the
But give me a better word than exposed then.
exposed implies that
He's been revealed.
it's I don't know the right word. Exposed is not the word I like.
Exposed
to use.
means like you show the world that this person's not that good at all.
Right, but he is very good. It's just that he's not as scary as he looked his first couple fights.
I mean, so he lost to Masvidal?
KO'd to Masvidal, KO'd by
Choked
out by Tyron,
Woodley.
dropped and choked out, and then KO'd viciously by Masvidal.
So, I mean, Masvidal's on a run right now. Like, what's he, about his 40th or 50th fight in his career?
Yeah.
You know, that's the other reason why I got Masvidal. Like, if this isn't his time, it's never going to be his time to kind of make this jump into title contention.
That's a good reason for why I think he could go berserk, is because he knows he's got the world in his hands right now.
Yeah.
He's coming off of an incredible victory that made him like, how much more popular is this dude? I didn't know he was George.
Yeah.
Right,
I didn't know he was George that I used to watch
Yeah.
on MySpace Fight People.
Right.
What do you think about the BMF belt?
Awful.
I hate it.
I love it.
I hate it.
I don't like the idea of it. I don't like, and I especially don't like the execution of it.
The Rock. Why?
I didn't see that part I actually like. I like the Rock involved in it.
I think The Rock being involved in it really forces the WWE
Yeah.
element to it, where it's like, what is this belt? What is this?
I like it. It's
Do you like the belt itself, or do you like the idea of
I
the
like
belt?
the idea of the belt. I don't know if the belt is that cool or
Because
anything.
it looks like a,
No, it does. It looks cool.
it looks like a Bobo UFC belt.
No,
It is.
I mean, it
basically
is.
is.
But it looks
But
cool.
it, like, think about for guys like Cowboy, who's never going to be the champ. Like, there's guys that are like, everybody wants to see them fight. They're
Right.
well known as like,
Wait, is this going to be a real belt that people are
I
going to
hope
get?
so.
So this is why I
it's
hope
like the
not.
Intercontinental Champion.
This is the shit where y'all give kids like fucking extra,
No.
like you give them participation trophies. If you can't be the world champion, then that's on you.
No, I think there should be a BMF champ.
No.
And then and then the BMF champ gets a shot at the real champ.
So the BMF champ in every weight class,
Yes.
that's just terrible.
No, I
that's-
like
that's-
It's terrible.
Just like, so think about like it would give guys that are like you know, a guy like,
But so I think the idea of the BMF champ works with Masvidal and Diaz, because if that belt didn't exist, you'd still refer to those guys as a BMF, right? Like a bad motherfucker.
right.
There's a lot of guys out there that might be in title contention that could win that you would never say that
I
that's a
don't think
BMF.
it's for title contenders. I think it's for guys that are almost like they couldn't make it through the run to get to a title shot, but they could possibly beat the champ. Does that make sense? Like, you have a guy.
I see what
like,
you're saying. They're
so
skilled enough to beat
a lot of times, like, your
the
chances
path
of getting
is
a
harder
title
than
shot is dependent on your opponents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you might have a guy that, so he gets matched up with a guy that takes him down and holds him down for,
Right.
but he might match up amazing with the guy that's the
Somebody
champ
else.
right now.
I mean,
So,
we
like, he's-
already watched it happen twice, even though they gave, this guy the second fight against Conor McGregor. He fought him twice.
Diaz.
Yeah, he beat him for sure the first time, and the second time we could just argue about it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that's kind of like what I mean, with McGregor, it's kind of obvious. Like, he got matchups that made him look amazing,
For sure.
and then he won the title from the right opponent. You know what I mean? If you put him in there against a different opponent for the title shot, it might not have worked
Right.
out that way. So I think it could be cool, and the UFC is going further and further away from like legitimate, like, who's the best fighter. It's about who's exciting to watch and shit like that. So I like it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just like watching good fights. I don't.
that.
like,
I
the-
agree with. Yeah,
the thing
yeah,
is,
good-
the titles are bullshit. That now you're seeing like weigh-ins are bullshit. USADA is bullshit. It's all kind of like just fantasy that we decide to believe in.
Right.
So let's just have people fight, and
And maybe
Make
the
it
belt
exciting.
will make the fighters more excited to grab that
and
belt.
what if like if you have a belt that sort of like, it's not just who can win the fight. It's who is the most, like, who do people want to see the most fuck people up, and who's like the toughest as far as taking punishment and dishing it out. That belt could become worth more money than the
I
championship
believe it only becomes more money if they change the rule set of the fight. Baddest motherfucker fights, you can knee them while they're on the ground. No,
Yeah.
change shit.
Right.
Yeah, 6
Yeah.
rounds.
Yeah.
6 rounds.
Right, right.
Something else that makes it where it's like, nah,
Yeah.
that's the cage within the cage.
head stomps and
They should make it.
like-
They should make it a 10-minute round, A 10-minute round and a 5-minute round.
Right.
Actually, they could do it should be a 20-minute round and a 5-minute round.
Or it goes back to the old school where it's like there is no weight, or the weight classes are crazy fluctuation.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. So I think the best use of the BMF belt would be for like these super fight type deals, right? Where guys might be moving up to a weight class, fighting a guy that's never been beaten, or stuff like that. I think the execution of the actual belt is awful. Like I think The Rock being involved, I like The Rock as a personality, but the belt is just
It's weird to see like when you have them weighing in and then The Rock's just standing in between them. It's like,
right.
I mean, I know you're a popular celebrity, but like,
Who's jacked?
who's jacked? But like, you can't fight.
Right.
You know what I
yo,
mean? Like
I think if he would have learned, he'd have been
For sure.
As a
He-
specimen,
yeah,
As
100%.
a specimen,
But he
he's
didn't.
ridiculous.
I mean, There's a lot of people get
there's,
that about.
there's a guy that's almost made it to the NFL, played in the CFL, was one of the greatest professional wrestlers in the world, and is now one of the most popular actors ever. He puts his mind to anything he wants, and he
His
can likely
charisma
achieve
would have
that.
been incredible.
Yeah.
Like, man, another universe.
That's,
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I'm not a big fan of pro wrestling, but I like, they're better at, like, that's the crazy thing is they can get people excited about fake fights. Imagine if you were to take a guy like those personalities like The Rock or Stone Cold or all these like weird dudes,
If Macho Man was a real guy,
and then he could actually fight, and you get to see him fight another, like you get to see like legitimate like Macho Man versus The Rock in a real fight.
Yeah.
Right.
But now, I tell you what, if this is separate than this, but if Canelo Alvarez beats Kovalev tonight, he should get a bad motherfucker belt.
He'll kill Kovalev.
But what I'm
I don't
saying
know,
is,
Kovalev looked gigantic
I'm
next to
saying
him.
that he still would deserve for him to jump up them weight classes and do that, man.
See, you know what it should be? The BMF should be a title given after by a third party that's
Voted on by the
fans.
like a fight of the night type of
exactly.
thing.
Like and you mail it to him and you take it here. You get to hold this. You're the BMF for the execution of that. You like that belt? That belt is awful.
Now, I think that all belts look fake until you get used to them.
What can you do with it? What, I mean, what?
I don't know.
Every
That
belt
money
looks
belt
fake.
seemed kind of nice when Floyd fought Connor.
People hate the new UFC belt, and I think it looks cool, and people hate
I
it.
hate- I don't like the new
And then
UFC
you look
belt.
at the belt before that with the man on it, looks whack as hell. Look like I made it in arts and crafts.
That man was from the very first UFC.
Yeah,
that was
I
kind
know.
of
That's tradition.
It was-
That's tradition.
It sucks. The first logo of Ultimate Fighting Champions is terrible.
Yeah, what are you going to
it's
bring up?
history.
The lines? What the fuck was the thing you told me? Oh, yeah, the line spacing. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you're not an artist. Don't worry about it. I was like, all right.
Yeah, this stuff is psychological signals. You know what I mean? Subconscious shit.
I got Till winning that fight. That's my prediction.
All right. I got Gastelum. Who you got?
He had
Gastelum.
Gastelum. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great fight against an African king.
Yeah, I like Gastelum a lot.
Speaking of African kings, next up, Derek Lewis versus some white Russian guy, Ivanov. Tim, who do you have in the race war?
The race war. Let's see.
Derek Lewis, Ivanov.
It's a tough fight because I don't know if Ivanov is actually a white dude. He's from like the steppes of Russia or something. He's a different ethnicity than
He's a Cossack.
Yeah, he's something different. But I'll go with Derek Lewis just because I like him. But I think
Derek
Ivanov
Lewis is my
really
balls
good.
is hot. That's
Yes,
him,
he's
right?
going to call Trump again. He's going to call Trump again and let him know that USA in his hoe.
Yeah, I got Ivanov.
I have never seen Ivanov fights. I don't even
He
know.
beat
who
Fedor. That's how he actually got into like MMA because he beat Fedor in like a combat sambo match.
So I've seen him do more combat sambo than I've seen him
But
do
I think
MMA.
he's like 20-1 or 22. He's really good. He's beaten a lot of good guys.
Yeah, I'm going to, just without knowing who Ivanov is, or I'm going with my balls is hot, Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who you got?
You already know. He's black. Black. I'm only playing Derek Lewis, though.
My African brethren.
Wonder Boy versus Luke K.
I don't know the other dude, so I have to just pick Wonder Boy Steve.
I don't even care. I don't,
No,
like,
yeah,
I don't really care. Wonder Boy is very like, he's like a non-entity.
But he seems to be one of the nicest people in MMA.
Yeah, I think that's why like nobody cares about watching
Yeah,
him
you
fight.
know what I'm saying?
He
Like,
made
you're
him
like,
real good in a video game, and I got my ass whooped by him the other day, so I'm gonna go with him.
yeah, I'll go with Wonder Boy. So that probably means that the other side's winning on that one.
Now we come to the big fights.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight because we have a personal relation. We were at a wedding with Gregor
He's
Gillespie.
at the table, yeah.
Yeah, sat down, talked to this guy for a few hours.
I got Gregor.
I have Gregor too, but I think this should be this is a big step up for him in class of fighter, don't you think?
Yeah, but I think it's a bad matchup because I think Lee does well because he can wrestle. But I think Gregor's wrestling is going to make Lee like tentative and just going to allow Gregor to get a hold of him. You know what I mean?
And his pace is amazing.
I think he'll be able to put a pace on him that he can't keep up with.
I'm going with Gregor just because Kevin Lee I don't know, he just doesn't.
He doesn't have it.
Something.
Yeah, and he's not training in Vegas anymore. He's training at TriStar. So, people are thinking that might be helpful for him.
That could be interesting.
Because I believe when he was in Vegas, he would train boxing at Mayweather's, go do his jiu-jitsu somewhere else and his MMA somewhere else. So he wasn't in one place where he could kind of do everything. So I'm wondering if that, do you think that you can get that, make a big improvement moving, say, from that to something else like TriStar?
For sure. Maybe not that quick, but for sure, that's the best thing for him to do. I think that's the. I totally forgot about that, but I definitely think he could. But I still think Gregor will beat him. I don't think he's had enough time under a new camp to
really make
those kind of strides.
Right. Next big fight,
Blonde
maybe
fighter.
the biggest fight of the night.
I got blonde fighter.
Of course.
I don't know who she's fighting.
I don't even care who she's fighting. Yeah. So she's.
I know she's taller, and I think that's bad. She's
taller,
so elusive and longer. She's gonna fuck her
I
up.
saw her, and this was before we had a personal relationship with her. I saw her at CFFC fighting some Brazilian girl, I believe, or it might have been her when she fought Sarge. I can't remember. I was like, this girl has just amazing footwork. Her footwork for any fight, male or female, was amazing. Like just she's a very, very skilled fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
more so than a lot of people realize, I think. But because she doesn't knock a lot of people out.
Right. But clearly great cardio. Mm-hmm. Her husband is a dear friend of ours in the show.
And even the fights that she's lost have been super close. Like they haven't been.
Yeah, she's never been dominated by anyone. No. Clearly not submitted. She's training with John Danaher.
Yeah, even the one she lost a decision by, like she had like almost finished the girl she was like about to finish the girl at the end of the fight. And
she's just like it's always great when you have a personal relationship with somebody, but she's awesome. Clearly we want to see her win. We're fans and friends. Mm-hmm. But she's gonna hopefully knock this girl out. Maybe I hope so. I'm going head kick, left shin to the noggin.
I'll go right shin to the noggin.
Round 2, Caitlin knocks her out. Anything else on that? Those are the big fights, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna go out of my way to go watch these fights tonight. My brother's home.
Gabe?
Yeah, Gabriel.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell him I said hi.
I will. Hey, we were talking about you yesterday.
Tell him I missed them. Missed seeing him around the gym.
Me too.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, he's back. I have a really good feeling this time.
Yeah?
Yeah, I actually do. Yeah, we had a nice conversation.
Good.
So, I told him he was very happy to hear that we're still doing the podcast.
Nice.
I think he thinks that we're doing it for like 6 years.
We've been doing it for the time he was on it.
But I don't know where I'm going to go. Somebody was saying that Miller's Ale House might be a good way to go because they play the sound of the fights.
I hate going out to watch it.
Okay.
But in the city, I forget if I would. In the city, I would go to like either the place in Fox and Hound in South Philly.
Okay, it's in Center City. Fox and Hound.
Maybe what's the one in Champs? Champs in South Philly.
Champs is now Miller's Ale House.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna get it at home.
Okay.
I usually fall asleep.
They're like $80 to order a pay-per-view these days. It's insane.
Yeah, that's why you don't order them.
That's why you got to get your $30 cable.
Yes,
from your guy in China.
Nah, you gotta support the sport.
Listen, man.
He is supporting the sport.
Because if I am gonna pay for it, and I'm gonna give Masvidal and Diaz a little bit of money tonight.
Look, and check this out.
And I'm gonna enjoy them sacrificing part of their lives.
I
for
can
my
get it.
entertainment.
No, you're 100% correct. So here's the gray area, right? when you see that big ass monster logo in the middle of that ring, and they're getting paid for that, even that company knows what they're paying the UFC for, or whatever entity is that. My eyes are still seeing it.
Yes.
So they know there's millions of people that didn't pay them directly.
Yeah.
But trust me is accounted for in that board in that room, and they're saying we want to get to Devin Wade's eyes regardless.
Yeah. If he paid or not, we're still advertising to him.
Yeah, because you think about it, when you go to the bar, you're just watching it for free. Like, you think about how many eyes are in a bar just watching this thing.
Yeah, but they if they're doing it legit, they're paying based on their capacity.
Yes, I
It's
do.
a lot of money, yeah.
Well, because of the way my place is set up, even though it's no event here.
Yeah.
That's how they would charge me.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you think I want to pay $6,000 to watch a fight?
No,
I don't think you can do that. You couldn't. Probably, can you do that at a school?
I don't think you can. No.
Yeah, 'cause it's like they know you're making money off of something.
Yeah,
so.
something like that's why people kind of get sketchy when we're gonna have the UFC at the school, and then they get it shut down.
Yeah.
Brendan Schaub gets you
That's
all
why
jacked
you know
up.
what they do, right? All the clubs.
What?
The guy that comes by that checks, so let's say you're a Philadelphia club.
Yeah.
And in the Philadelphia club, there's dudes in that district that go around and check and see if the fight's in there. That dude that comes in there, you're supposed to pay $6,000, $7,000 for the fight.
Give him $500.
You become friends with that dude. No, it's way more respectful than that. You're going to give him $2,500, $2,000, and he acts like that fight was never there.
Right.
And then you know who the people are, and that arrangement is just good. And I knew plenty of club owners in the city of Philadelphia that's done that for years.
Yes, I know the guys that work with Johan Productions, the boxing people, that they're the guys that do all the pay-per-views outside of like the cable company. So if you have DirecTV, Johan are the people that you go through to get the pay-per-views. So yeah, just an interesting dynamic. But like I was telling him, my brother's home, so I might go out to watch the fights. But it's been so long, I don't know. I haven't not. It's been so long since I've been out to see a fight, but also just I don't watch them anymore. I watch them after, or I read about them. So it should be interesting to see what it's like live.
Fights are not the same live to me unless I have some stake in it. Friends, personal. I like commentation.
Yeah.
I like the history. The story.
I like watching it at home more than watching it like live. Anything, just sitting at home, being able to watch.
Most
it on TV.
Sports are way better on your TV than live.
Way better.
Yeah.
I really wish that they would let the commentation come through the damn stadium. Like, I just went to a Sixers game and it's like, this shit's boring.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I want
just a bunch of shoes squeaking.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
And you weren't even there for the Embiid fight.
Nah, but even with that, like, you can't hear the punches. You know
Unless
what I mean?
it's a good one.
Right.
Sometimes, but most of the time, man, it's just silence and you're just watching the fight, and it's just not the same. And it changes your perspective on who's winning because you're just watching the two dudes swing.
100%. Yeah.
You're making your own decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've watched fights without, like, I had my headphones in. I was like listening to like a podcast or something while I was watching fights, and I thought a guy was like, clearly winning. And then I listened to the commentary, and they're talking about how well the other guy is doing. Like,
sometimes they're on some bullshit.
Right.
But that's the other. They're also seeing something that we're not seeing. They're seeing it. It's weird how, like,
well, their lens is different than our lens, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's lens is different.
Yeah.
And if you like a certain style of fighting,
correct,
and I don't,
and that's what the BMF belt is also for. Because he's saying, I want guys that want to engage the whole time. If you're not engaging the whole time, this ain't your belt.
It's gonna be terrible if this turns into like Masvidal throws leg kicks and Diaz throws jabs the whole time.
Right.
So they just kind of like dance.
Right. They dance around each other, and it's a 5-rounder too.
Yeah, but I don't think that'll happen. Now I think Diaz is gonna get on him. He's gonna get hurt a little bit in the first 2 rounds, and then third round he's gonna start coming on. Fourth round it'll be over.
I hope so.
Diaz wins. Diaz wins.
Really
I've been saying Masvidal the last couple of weeks, but now
you change your mind.
He changed it just to go against us.
Yes,
he's the Gilly of this podcast. Once again.
Yeah. And not from Philly.
Yeah,
we walked into a big beef in here. You hear them screaming at each other? Jersey, Philly. Yeah, it's crazy.
They'll find about that later.
But speaking of beefs, the cat people are on us. The feline community
I'm not too worried about the cat people.
The feline community is not too happy with us for telling them that cats suck.
I don't think cats suck. I just, like I said.
Well, the podcast that you're a part of said the cats suck.
We said cats. Oh, you made that title. I didn't agree. I didn't agree with anything in that title, except for USADA sucks.
Man, I don't know.
Askren doesn't suck.
I mean, I disagree. So since I'm like a temporary fake member of this,
uncredited,
I like cats better than dogs.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
Cats are definitely not better than dogs, but they're cool pets.
They're
cool creatures.
I was making a clickbaity title.
Yeah,
I know.
You want to go to that question right away?
Nah. But we speaking of clickbait, there's a thing we want to talk about here. This transgender letter to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community.
So we have a group chat that we handle all matters of race and gender.
More so gender than race, typically, right?
Yeah, usually.
Right.
But any sort of like controversial cultural issue.
Yeah, I throw a grenade into this group chat every once in a while.
So supposedly a transgender person sent. I hate even saying the word, an open letter.
A missive? Is that what they're called?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's always like an open letter to
Who-
blank community.
Who do you send the open letter to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community? Like if I wanted to address the whole community, where do I post this letter?
I think you sent it to one of those websites.
Okay.
And then a bunch of dorks on Facebook will share it.
Gotcha.
But
So
yeah.
this was a kid or a boy born, gender assigned at birth was male. Right?
I believe so. And then
wrestled.
yeah, and I don't even care. Like, I don't even want. It's like the only interesting thing I found out of that letter, because most of it was just this person talking about how they've never felt comfortable anywhere, which seems to me like that's completely their issue. Like how how you feel wherever you are is your problem, not anybody else's problem.
Okay, I can agree with that, but it still can't be fun for whoever that is.
It does not matter. Like I feel uncomfortable in almost all social situations, but I'm not going to send a letter to any community.
Okay.
Hoping that they will conform to, like, if I send a letter, like I hate going to a bar and the music's loud because I can't talk. I have to shout and it's like hard to have any kind of like good conversation.
Right.
So if I were to be like, send an open letter to the bar community.
So what you're saying is that this young person has to conform to the community, not the community not conform to him.
Correct. So get over yourself. But the interesting thing, and it's also very self-absorbed to like just focus on like how you feel as opposed to like
how we feel,
how everybody else feels.
Look, as no matter what, like I respect this person's feelings in the sense of if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But it doesn't trump. Hey, I brought up your guy. My feelings either. Yeah, you know. So
exactly.
like,
it doesn't trump anybody else's feelings.
Right.
We all have feelings. And
right. Your rights don't trump my rights.
You can't
and
operate
vice versa.
In life just conceding to everybody's silly whims.
Gotcha.
But
was he making a request to the community or just making a statement to the community? Because oddly, I'm the one that sent the link in and I didn't read the article.
Yeah, I skimmed it. It was a request for them to somehow feel. I don't know. That's
dude. But like, so here's the thing: is that everybody should be cool wherever you go, right? You shouldn't have to deal. Like, people shouldn't be overtly an asshole to you.
And if they are, go somewhere else.
Okay,
Simple.
Number one, right? I agree with you. If you don't like how they're treating you, either leave or deal with it in a way that they no longer treat you like an asshole.
Right.
Right.
But the interesting thing that I got out of the letter was this person proposed an X-gender division for transgenders. And this is my favorite part. So anyone can test themselves against anyone willing.
Okay.
Meaning, like, if I wanted to test myself against women, I could do it.
If they were willing to test themselves against you.
Right.
No way.
But I think that's the only good answer is to just have like an open division.
Open gender, open
gender.
weight.
Because if you did just a transgender division, you would have
correct
one person in it.
And then you'd be a villain on the planet.
Right.
Earth.
But if you made a division where, or just a whole tournament where it's like,
you sign up, whatever weight you're in.
You go by weight. And if you weigh in and you get matched up with a woman and she wants to go against you, it's totally cool. Like I think that's the only way to.
Amanda Nunes will probably win.
Yeah, she'll fuck this person up.
She'll probably win against the equal man.
Man, and it's been really crazy with how it feels like a lot of women are coming out against the idea of transgendered women in their divisions, costing them spots in different
teams,
on teams or on podiums. You know, like man, this is a very odd time. You know, like it really is. And when I say that, it means it's just like I don't recall. I'm 47 years old. I don't remember any of this stuff until like about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it was there. I don't know.
Maybe a year ago. Like, you know what I mean? Like this stuff is like just burst onto the scene.
And a transgendered athlete in combat sports. I watched. There's a link on that that sends you to a match with Siobhan Guthrie and the United States or the world's first transgender black belt. And
Ron Guthrie.
remember from Balance,
Yeah.
the girl, the transgendered person destroys Siobhan.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
at that point where I don't care. It's tough for me to swallow the pill that these agencies have said that, well, she's been on whatever for a year, or not lack of testosterone for a year, so it's now the same thing. Man, it doesn't seem that way when the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's gonna be plenty of people saying like, oh, well, let's just let them do it until they experience what's gonna happen, because you especially in combat sports, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, fighting, the person's gonna be super aggressive against you. It's not like like rolling politely in a gym.
Right.
It's gonna be like people trying to fuck each other up. So you're you're just gonna risk women getting injured by biological.
It's a
biological
terrible
males.
idea that's like threefold. It's like, I think it leads to what Tim's saying, you know, where it's like, okay, well then they might as well just have an open thing where it's open gender fighting. You know how dangerous the idea socially. I'm not talking about in the
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that.
socially. Once you watch men and women fight on TV growing up, why wouldn't my son Christian punch a girl in the face at school?
I didn't even think of that.
Like, he's like, I mean, I watch like professionals do it. We're equal. The world is so equal.
The counter argument is well, why isn't he walking around punching other boys in the face if he's watched them punch each other on
the
TV?
thing is, boys do that.
Yeah,
They
are doing that.
Right.
That's how boys like learn about stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how you kind of like learn about boundaries and what you should
And I
and shouldn't
teach
do.
my son, like, you're not going to hit a girl even if they hit you, bro.
Right.
Like, you're not doing that.
Right.
But in that new world that they're trying to create, he could roundhouse kick her in her face if he wants to. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man.
No,
yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
It's a crazy dynamic, and when I say crazy, I don't even mean like mentally ill. It's just as these things that we're all of a certain age that this is something that maybe existed, but we never had to think about or parent through. Right? My dad never had to tell me any of this stuff, and when people want us to act a certain way, it's tough for us to act the way they want us to act because we're just not used to this. Right. And I'm sorry that I act however I act and I mislabel you and misgender you. It's just that as how you present yourself is what I'm going to call you.
And it's very hard. Like in a new comedy special is a guy named Dion Cole, and he told a joke that he went and got permission from Wanda Sykes to use the word dyke. And he said, do you hold the door open for a dyke? This is a real question. This is what he asked it, and everybody's confused because he said, when you go to open up a door for like a lesbian woman that carries herself like a man, quote unquote, they'll get offended. Bro, I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
I hold the door open for men.
Right.
Everybody.
But this is the difference.
Yeah.
When you hold the door open for a man, these are the things that people don't even realize or think about. A man don't think nothing of it.
Yeah.
A woman that is stepping into the role of a man thinks that that's not supposed to be what's done. They don't even realize we open the door for each other.
I think Larry David might have covered this in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Where he talks about where they got into holding doors or barbering, something where it's like the gender roles are kind of misaligned, and he didn't know how to act. He didn't know what to do.
I think they have to really be careful with what they're trying to switch the gender roles as, because it's going to lead to some abusive situations. I don't think things want to be equal.
I think especially because neither sex has any idea what it's like to be the other sex. So
and everybody's so fucking sensitive about everything.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I get it. You're sensitive, but man, like toughen up a little bit. Like get it. Like
that was the thing that made me sick about this letter. It was just about like, I never felt comfortable here. I never felt comfortable there.
Look, man, I like that. If that sucks for this person, like as an outside observer with, like feelings for people, and I want people to be happy and to do well in their lives, that if you can't find a space, but you just haven't looked hard enough for the space that you fit into that you're comfortable with, right? And I get that you might feel sad and lonely and all these other things, but there's so many supports out there. There's so many people that in the right constructs can help you get through that, man, all you got to do is talk about it and find somebody and, like that kind of thing, rather than bitching and moaning about it. If you're just gonna bitch and moan about it, you're just gonna keep suffering.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of people that don't want the help, or they don't want it to be fixed. They want to enjoy and relish the problem. I think that's more likely. 'Cause like you said, there's plenty of places and support for everybody
that you could go to and feel included and accepted.
but that's not as fun as being, and you don't get as much attention or praise as if you're a constant victim of.
Yeah, they need a fight to fight at all times. It'll be something else.
Right. Yeah. And that's because look, fuck, at the end of the day, right? I just want motherfuckers to be happy. Just be happy.
I want that at the beginning of the day.
So
All
we'll
day.
start your day happy. We'll end my day happy. And in between, we'll have Devin's day, whatever that happens.
I don't know what is.
but yeah, I think it would be crazy. I think especially in combat athletics, it's men having their gender reassigned to women or whatever the correct terms are. It doesn't sound like the opposite problem is an issue where women are becoming men and they're throttling other men.
There
in
actually
combat
is
athletes.
there's a wrestler in Texas. She's a biological female, wants to transition or is in transition. So she's taking testosterone
Okay.
to transition to be a boy,
Okay.
but they're forcing her to wrestle on the girls.
Okay.
And she's like 4-time state champ.
No, but what I'm saying is if she was
So it's a
wrestling,
girl.
if she was wrestling boys,
Right.
I think this would be a less of a.
But the issue is you have a girl on testosterone wrestling girls.
Right, but I want to see a girl on testosterone wrestling boys.
There's a boxer doing it.
And how is she doing? Or is
There's
he
an
doing?
amateur. I think she's won one fight.
Okay.
Or wait, he has won one fight.
Right.
How does that work if like a dude, obviously we have a certain level of testosterone, but you can't like take in testosterone as a man. Does that become an issue of how much testosterone? How does that work? I have no idea.
So they have to
manage that, right?
They have average levels of testosterone. But even in a normal man, you're
like all of our testosterone levels are different. If we were the same age, you might be 3,000. I could be 2,000.
Yours is different when you wake up to when you go to bed. Like it's like there's no like just
There's not one constant.
Yeah, so
Right.
how do they legalize how much they pump into her?
they come up with a threshold for it and they just
Right.
they just start
That's
doing
why
it.
this shit
Right,
doesn't
but
make
most of the
sense.
complaints in combat athlete are coming from men transitioning into women and then competing against women, as opposed to the opposite of women.
Yeah, no one's complaining about that because it doesn't really happen.
Right.
I think there's one example. of
Okay.
it.
Yeah. So be interesting. We're probably going to catch a lot of shit for this portion of the episode, but hey,
Nah,
We
we
talk-
handled it well.
I think so.
We're very
The
respectful.
super sensitive people, we'll get. Yeah, you
We
guys
don't
are
want them.
nice.
Correct.
Anything else about the transgenders?
No,
No. All right.
but I think that I'm in support of a transgender division.
I think it was. I am
If you're gonna do anything, I think that would be the right. I think that's the answer to the problem.
so just this middle sex,
The X division,
X division.
X gender
So,
division.
but that's not a transgender division.
it's
That's
open gender.
open gender for everybody. Whatever. It
Anybody.
doesn't matter what you identify as.
Anyone can test themselves against anyone willing. So
The
if
beginning of the end, guys.
Man, but
but that
talk
he
about
brought
it.
up a good point. Like if I can enter a division where I can beat up a girl socially, like that can change. Like
It
every
will 100%.
every young man that's been raised correctly, that functions well in society, lives his life by the rule that you don't hit a girl.
Correct.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you blur that line where it's like, well, you can hit a girl sometimes if she
Agrees to it.
if she's down
Right.
for it.
Right.
Exactly. It's
Right.
going to change everything. It's like
Yeah.
she wanted to fight a dude at school. She wanted to fight me. I knocked her out.
Right. But now the flip side of this is that these young ladies, and not talking about competitive young ladies that are fighting, but need to not square up with dudes on the schoolyard and, like, oh,
I mean, that's been going on your whole life because they also know that most of the time they're behind an invisible wall of he's not supposed to really do
Right.
something.
They know what we know.
Right.
Boys aren't supposed to hit girls.
Right.
Right.
You know
But
what I mean?
in this new world, people losing teeth in that bone density situation, we're going to see a lot of
Yeah.
stuff cracking.
Right. So let's move out of the politics and into the
Was that politics?
Kinda.
gender politics.
Kind of.
Isn't everything politics? We were talking fight politics earlier.
I don't even know. You know those words like politics, where like, what does politics mean?
I don't know. I just
See?
use it.
Yeah, exactly. Like we throw it around, but we don't. Like I don't know the definition of politics.
Right.
You know.
All right.
Strange.
So you wanted to talk about the Swindled podcast?
Yeah, you got me hooked on the Swindled podcast.
Good podcast, right?
It's great.
Very, very good. Very, very well done. Thoughtful, thought out. I think I've listened to just about every single episode. I think I have a couple that I have to get to.
I listened to the psychic Sylvia Brown one today.
The one, Miss Cleo.
That was the first part.
Okay.
And then they went to Sylvia Brown.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But that got me thinking about like fraudulent stuff in martial arts. Like
the no touch knockout.
Like the George Dillman's.
Yes.
You see him on Instagram now all the time, like, and Facebook. Like people always post them.
Real
Like,
quick, you guys were kind of using it correctly.
Politics?
Yeah, because it is the activities associated with governance. So anything to do with how the order of things should be
work.
ran.
All right.
Yep.
So we were right. It's just like our lives. We've been right, and we didn't even know we were
didn't
right.
even know it.
Yeah. Nice. So the idea of how not to get swindled at a martial arts
In
school.
martial arts,
right? Yeah. So
because I had a parent, and the whole family trains at the gym now, but they had trained at another popular gym for a long time.
okay, what style of martial arts did they teach at this popular gym?
Kickboxing, grappling,
Okay, all right.
mixed
So
martial arts.
so
kind
it's
of stuff.
legitimate stuff they're teaching.
Yeah,
Okay.
but and she's like, the longer we're here, it's like the more I realize how like screwed up the other place was. Like how
Did she get into what was?
well, I mean, some of it was just like the way like the instructor student ratio, like the things they were being taught necessarily, like she just said it was like it was the first place they went to, so they didn't really know. And in this place, they sort of like they're like really insulated. So everything is like you have to be in this spot.
Okay.
You know, everything comes from this.
Gotcha.
You know, so and I was thinking how easy it is for fraudsters and con men it would be to take advantage of people like
Well,
that.
especially if it's your job as a martial arts instructor is to do a lot for people, but also your job as a business owner sometimes goes counter to your job as a martial artist, right? And what I mean by that is that when you're in, I got to try and sign you up, right? And like I don't want on that second day, I don't want you to leave, right? So that's why I make the offer that I make, and shopping around, because most people join the last place that they're in. Mm-hmm. If it happens to be the first place they're in, or typically
it's like your keys, or it's always the last
place you left them. Yeah. So that's the problem, is that if you like a place, but you haven't shopped around,
right,
you don't know what it's like, but you're also an uninformed or an uneducated consumer. And this is no fault of the consumer. If you've never done the martial arts before, it's very difficult to do your due diligence, right? I thought you were going to say it was like a karate school or a kung fu school or an aikido school that was kind of,
no, because I mean,
that's an easy answer of how to avoid them.
If it's somebody teaching like no touch knockouts and dim mock stuff,
right,
pressure points, then I think that's fairly easy. Should be fairly easy. But the other thing is, there's a lot of people that's what they believe
works.
Fighting is. They think like martial arts is. I had a woman come in the other day, and she wanted to do the Muay Thai class, and then after the warm-up, she's like, "This isn't what I thought it would be." I was like, "Well, what did you think it was?" She's like, "Well, my friend does karate at this place, and she had told me what it was like," and I was like, "Oh, it's not karate."
Right. Yeah, it's Muay Thai.
I was like, but she didn't know what she was expecting.
Right.
She just said, "This isn't what I was expecting."
Right.
So I was like, "Well, just hang out for like another 15 minutes. You just go sit on the side and watch, see what we do. We're going to be throwing punches and kicks." I was like, "We're just warming up." You know what I mean? But she just wasn't into it.
Right. So what?
I think she was expecting like some sort of meditation and like.
Oh yeah, definitely not. I mean? Yeah, you're definitely not getting that. So you normally, like from my experiences, you don't get a lot of that BS stuff in most modern mixed martial arts schools that teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but you get other problems like you're talking about, the insulated idea, but also that we're the only ones that could teach you this. The guys that are teaching this up the street, they're terrible, they're bad. Don't ever talk to them. So how do you avoid making the bad decision when you're at when you have a choice of mixed martial arts or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai, because one of the questions you can ask is, hey, what do you think of these other schools? And see what kind of answer you get.
I usually tell people, because I have people, they'll call up and they'll be like, I'm looking around at a bunch of different places. I was like, all right, go look at all them. And then if you don't like any of those, give me a call back and we'll schedule the time for you to come in.
Right.
Because I don't want to deal with like trying to like show that I'm better than anybody else. It's just like, this is what we do.
Hard pressure sales tactics.
Right. It's just like, this is what we do. If you like that other place, you should be there. If you like the way it feels here, you should be here.
Right.
You know, and I'd rather be the last one they look at than the.
For sure, because it's usually the place that they're going to join. If they walk out without joining when it's time to join, they're usually not joining. I don't know how many people you get coming back, but you know, I think the question of, well, what do you think of the other school? And if they say anything negative about the other school, listen to what they're saying, right? Because I will never talk negative about anybody else's school, even though there's schools that might have problems with me, or you know, they might talk junk on me. Like, there's some really good schools around here. But if it's a big box school, just say like a UFC gym, I'm like, yeah, you know, the only problem with the UFC gym is that you don't know who your instructor is going to be. Yeah. The guys that teach aren't the guys that own, you know, so forth and so on. I do the
same thing with, same exact thing. I don't talk bad about anybody or any martial art unless I'm on the podcast.
Right.
I was about to say.
Unless it's a UFC gym. And then I just say, like, that's not like a real school. Like, you're going to have a different instructor every 2 weeks.
And what you ask at the UFC gym is, where do your instructors train?
Yeah.
Right? Because I know that I could, if I only had to, I could train at my school and still improve. You could train at your school and still improve.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like that's a big differentiator. The guys at the UFC gym, as good as they might be, they're not training at the UFC gym to get better. They're training at the UFC gym to make money.
There's also guys that, I guess they're more rare now, but people that say that they're like a black belt in jiu-jitsu or black belt, they're a black belt from the Gracies.
Right.
But
they're not.
They're like a blue belt. Like there was a guy that came around Philly a couple years ago. I forget what his name was.
Lonnie Phillips.
Damn. I don't think so. I don't know. I forget his name. I thought it was some sort of like maybe Italian name or something. But he came in, said he was a black belt. He kind of like made friends with some of the guys in the area. And I think he started to open up his own school, and then I don't know, but he was a complete fraud.
Because there was a guy in the area, Lonnie Phillips, who had kind of came as a brown belt and then somehow miraculously had gotten a black belt and got kind of exposed during this whole thing that happened.
Was
and
this
then
recent?
Maybe like 7-8 years ago.
How do you G-check these guys? Is it like, who's your big homie? And then like, you did homie's big homie?
It could be like that. Yeah, you could ask where they train and then you can check. But most people aren't going to do that. Like,
yeah, that's kind of nuts. But you know what? I guess they would figure a brown belt to black belt, maybe I can get this off.
Yeah, I remember. So this guy was like, he said he was a black belt, but then when you saw him roll, it was like clear that he wasn't.
Right.
So this dude wasn't a brown belt.
And it wasn't like he was. So you could, let's say.
Because if you're a brown belt, like you should be able to put a black belt on. I'm not saying you should, but you should be able to put a black belt on and somebody be like, all right, you know what? I get it. I get why he's a black belt.
And it's not like, and this guy wasn't like an older guy. It wasn't like he's like 50, 60 years old where like physically he was incapable of doing it, but like he had the technique. It was just a guy that was like young and strong and obviously didn't really know what he was doing. But he was going around trying to pass himself off as a black belt.
Like for us, like we got our black belts. Like people like, oh, I mean, you guys train with the Middle East brothers, and you got, you know, like you guys are affiliated with Bouncer. Like you're talking about, your affiliation carries weight, right?
Our big homies.
Our big homies, right? Yeah, like our guys, like, yo, you're with the Middle East brothers. Those dudes are savages. Like you black belts from them. It already gives you like it legitimizes the rank that you've received.
So let me ask you this: does in a perception, if I came from Brazil, right? And I really wasn't a black belt, I was a purple belt. Would people believe it more if I come here and I say I'm
used
a
to
black
happen
belt?
used to happen back in the day.
Yeah, there was a lot.
It was very common.
They would say people would leave Brazil a purple belt and land in the U.S. as a black belt.
They got promoted on the flight over.
Yeah.
It's much easier.
Smart. It's smart.
But also, but from a technical, a skill difference standpoint, a lot of times those purple belts that were flying over from Brazil back in the day were better than the black belts that were here.
It's like a concentrated juice. They got more
because they were, you know, they're coming from the motherland, so they're like, okay, we could get this off. But now jiu-jitsu is so developed in the United States that you can't really get that off anymore, unless you're maybe going into the middle of the country where there's very little. Most urban hot spots where there's a lot of people, if somebody opens up that isn't legit, they're going to get, they're it's going to come down.
I could open up one in Camden for a summer and nobody would notice. Black belt, Camden Jiu-Jitsu.
Well, like I guess it would be much harder to get away with nowadays because people can just like look you up.
They Google you,
You know
right?
what I mean?
Yeah.
They can see, especially if you have like your school's been around for how long?
2006 we opened.
How many years? is that?
13.
13 years. So it's easy to see. There's
The other thing too is like if you're open for a while, it gives you some legitimacy, right?
I mean, my boy Wallow has his black belt, but he got his off in the mountains somewhere. Like, yeah, for real.
like the mountains of like the Appalachian Mountains
So-
or Tibet.
I don't know.
The mountains of SCI Dallas.
It was somewhere in the wilderness.
I believe he refers to it as the Pink Palace.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's video. If you go on YouTube, there's videos of guys going to schools where people claim to be black belts, running in with cameras, saying, "All right, let's go, let's roll."
Yeah.
And when I have people visit, I always train with guys that visit. We're good, bad, or indifferent. They're gonna roll with me, and they're gonna walk out. They're gonna say, "Well, now I know why he's good, bad, or indifferent." He's legit a black. I kicked his ass, but he was a legit black belt, or he kicked my ass and he was a legit black belt. Like one, that's what's gonna go down. So, but how to avoid the shitty Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school or Muay Thai school? I guess that's one of the things. Reading the reviews can be helpful. Can be helpful.
Yeah, I guess it can, but I rarely see either places have like a bunch of really bad ones, and if you see that, obviously you don't go.
Right.
Or it's just I'm always
Skeptical
put off when I see all good ones.
Since I have a couple bad reviews, I'm with you.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I don't believe that every place can be because
I know
there's no 5.0s. I'm
like
sorry.
I know like friends that have opened up gyms, and before the gym was open, they had a bunch of 5-star reviews talking about how great the gym was. It's like
they're not even open. Yeah, they're getting
like
support. They're getting love.
Your friends are leaving or lying to try to help you, but if someone that doesn't know where to sign up there based on those reviews, it's like they're signing up based on a lie.
Right.
Not that they wouldn't eventually be good, but
right.
They're being character witnesses.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think the other thing you got to look at is and it would be really difficult to do this, is check the social media of the students that go to a school and see how much they talk about the school they're at.
Yeah.
Right. If they talk about it too much, it's almost like they've been brainwashed into talking about it so much. And do you really want to be somewhere where you're forced into it?
Yeah,
But if they're
100%.
I think so. But if
100%.
it's just them sort of like checking in, like you see where they're always there and they like it, that's one thing.
That's
but
different. Yeah. So I got a guy now who's like, man, he's 9 for 9 this week for all the classes he takes, and every couple of days he's just posting about how awesome it is. I haven't asked him. He's doing that because he wants to do it, and I repost it just because I think it's awesome that he's that, like jazzed to be taking class. But I see other schools in this area where it feels like their students have been brainwashed. That statements are made. This is the best thing that's ever happened in my life, and I look at it and I go, this is a father of 3 with like successful children, and you're telling me that this jiu-jitsu place is the best thing that ever happened in your life, not your 3 children, not your beautiful wife.
Maybe he's a very violent soul, and
maybe his kids suck and his wife sucks.
Maybe.
No, I could see. This is high ranking in my life. Like, no, seriously. Like, to be able to simulate violence is great. I've been wanting to do this every moment of my life.
How often do you post about it?
I do post about it actually pretty often. I do.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
I don't.
I do.
When?
I think this dude, he want to get tagged.
No.
No, but I'm saying, like,
But not often enough where I would be like, yo, what's he? Like he's posting too much about it, right? Yeah. Where all of your friends on social media are like, Jesus Christ, Dev, stop with that.
Well, so the reason why I don't post more about it is so that I'm not trying to come across like I'm a martial arts expert.
Yeah.
See, if I'm posting about it too much, then I'm giving a wrong idea. I might want to talk about it all day, but
right,
I'm a newbie that just does this.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I mean that for me, maybe I just have certain bones to pick with certain schools that run a certain way that they do make their students feel like if they're not in that community, they're going to lose so much of every part of their life that they're, just like any kind of cult, they want to cut you off from the rest of your friends. Man, I don't want that from my school. What I want to do is when you come into our community, you go back to your regular life a much better person. You go back to your regular non-jiu-jitsu friends, a much better friend. And they look at you and they're like, man, that's awesome. Like that he's doing this thing, and maybe they get involved in something similar or even jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or whatever. But I never want to have a culture where it feels like I'm forcing a student to talk about it because I never felt forced to talk about it. I never felt forced to do anything. I'm doing this because the people and the stuff I was doing was the people I was with, and the stuff I was doing was the most amazing stuff I could ever do.
Well, this is the thing about that, and the reason why, like, I don't know the perspective of the person that's like the brainwash, because obviously I'll train at your spot and there's none of that going on. But when people get good news, like religious people, good news, they want to tell everybody, because when I think about every other job that I have that I like, I can pick out negative things about it.
It's like when people...
I can't pick one negative thing about this. Yeah. And it's just it's not like I'm there like, I don't like this dude.
Even the hemorrhoids.
Yeah, like,
hemorrhoids are worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it happens, but it's just, hey, man, I'm back.
So
kind of like becoming vegan or doing CrossFit.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's almost as if the search for that community is such a relief that you can't help but talk about that community. And at a certain point, like in the beginning, I get it. But as it goes on, 25 years later, man, what has it done for other areas of your life? What has it done for other aspects of who you are, as opposed to this one aspect of just doing jiu-jitsu? Right? It's like, man, has it made you a better person? Has it made you, more successful in other things? So, but yeah, definitely avoid the schools that could tell you that you can knock somebody out without touching them. That's a no-brainer.
Oh,
right
man,
there.
I love those pages.
And the keto schools.
I watched one where a guy had a scream technique through a door.
I saw that. Yeah. He goes, I had
to.
to add a little something to that because it was through the door. It's like, it's amazing that people will feed into that. Like, I'm gonna film this video, and I'm gonna scream through this door, and you're gonna act like
They don't even need to. He doesn't. The interesting part is that he doesn't need to tell that guy, when I scream, you fall over. That guy is so pimped. Into that other dude that he just, whenever he screams, that guy knows to fucking fall down.
It's happened in church forever.
Yeah. Yep.
It's happened in church forever. That guy touches him on the head and my legs work. No, they don't.
Yep.
So there we are. That's how you avoid shitty Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools. Do your research, check it out, and make sure you're around people that you want to be around, right?
Yeah. And if you get a bad vibe, trust it.
Could be.
Usually you don't get bad vibes from good people or good places, right?
I think so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think you'll get them, but you never know. Like sometimes but also walking into a martial arts school in general can be intimidating for an
I'm just
adult.
saying a bad vibe. Like, I don't know if I trust this guy.
Right. Yeah, and if the technique is too salesy,
yeah,
be careful too. Just because they don't have a good product that they're selling. We're moving on to our questions for the week.
Let's get to the questions.
All right. You want to go into this one?
I'll go this one.
All right.
Marco and Tim. I've been training 2 kids for about 5 personal training sessions for speed and agility in boxing. I received this message from the father recently. What would it take for the boys to be ready for real live hand-to-hand combat, as in a fight in school or on the street? They need to know that they can handle themselves. It's a mental confidence that my suburban kids lack, and a fear of confrontation and being hit. How would you handle this? We'll stop there and then we'll go to the next one.
Right. Yeah, so I guess it really depends on where these kids are getting attacked. Because say if they were in Camden and this was going on, I think we need more than 5 sessions to get them ready for this, this attack and this.
No,
this
so I mean, take out, forget about guns and knives.
Okay.
Just a good old schoolyard fight.
Same thing.
I think
still correct.
Yeah, I think it depends on, you know what I'm saying? Like, it depends on the viciousness of the person you're fighting, right? Like, I think if somebody that's a poor...
Well, there's nothing you can do to prepare like you have to treat everything the same. You treat whoever you encounter as the most vicious person you've ever encountered.
Okay, so
You know
then,
what I mean?
all right, I can
And
agree with.
but now
Right.
we're also saying that like we don't have guns and knives involved. It's just like a good old schoolyard fight. You're 15, guy kicks sand in your face at the beach.
Whoa.
The beach.
Yeah,
this is a very
Where's this high school?
Rio de
Bayside
Janeiro.
High. Bayside High.
Yeah, right.
Or that you're on the I don't know, what do kids do in high school?
Man, but what does that mean to be ready? Does be ready mean that they just didn't get their ass kicked? Does be ready mean that they win the fight? Does be ready mean that they're in the fight?
And
Yeah.
I got a kid, and he coming from the Camden system. I wanted him to be prepared, and I didn't want him to get a false sense of, okay, you're taking jujitsu now, and he's just like, yeah, I'm good, I'm ready. And it's just like, you've never been punched in the face
Right.
yet. But by the time I was his age, I'd been punched in the face a countless amount of
Right.
times, fighting on the street, not on a soft mat when you get slammed.
With
You
an
get-
adult overseeing everything.
You're slammed on the gravel, it's going to cut your knees up. You're not
Yeah.
looking at your knees trying to get the
And
dirt
you,
stuff.
and you don't know when or how this is going to stop.
Right,
That's the thing that's almost impossible to prepare for.
right.
Right? Is like you know that in the setting of martial arts training, that if you're getting your ass beat too much,
It's only going to go so far.
somebody's going to stop it.
Yeah. So I think this guy nails it when he says they need mental confidence and they
Yes.
need to know what it's like to be hit. I think just having those prevents almost anybody from fucking with you. It's rare that like if you carry yourself correctly, the people that would attack you would feel what's coming off you. Like I've seen you get in confrontations. You're not a physically intimidating person,
Whoa.
but you're the way you will like kind of like puff your chest out and not back down from like Chuck Liddell. You know what I mean?
You don't know this Chuck Liddell story.
But like
No, hold on, this is a real story.
it's like Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell was probably like, I could knock this dude out, but he's not gonna make it easy.
Wait, we're
You know what
not
I mean?
skipping past. We're not zooming by this at all.
He could tell the story. I know it was at a Grappler's Quest in Las Vegas.
Yes, yeah. Grappler's Quest. I'm refereeing a grappler. He's arguing with me.
Better get ready for Tito.
So he's arguing with me about a call, and we're jawing back and forth. And funny enough, I'd actually met Chuck Liddell maybe a year or two prior, trained with him in Atlantic City. Me and him, we had guys fighting. Joe Prioli was fighting. He had Gan McGee. I believe either he was cornering Gan McGee or somebody he had was fighting Gan McGee. And I look at him. He's like, "Yo," I said, "I'm gonna go do some jiu-jitsu later in the gym. Is you want to come?" He's like, Chuck and I train jiu-jitsu. So then I see him at a Grappler's Quest. He doesn't remember who I am, right? I know who Chuck Liddell is. He's a champ. Yeah, and he's giving me crap about a match I'm refereeing. And I said, if you don't like my call, I was like, you do it. And he's like jawing back and forth. And I'm like, hey, man, I was like, you shouldn't be worrying about me. I said, you need to worry about Tito. Because this was before he was getting ready to fight Tito. And I'm just like, well, fuck, man, I'm not going to let him talk to me any way he wants to talk to me. But I'm like, fuck, I'm going to get my ass kicked if I have to fight this guy.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like when you carry yourself in a certain way, and I think that comes from the training. But this guy's question is, what would it take for them to be ready for real live hand-to-hand combat? The only thing that really, really gets you ready is real live hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
Is like street experience gets you ready for it.
Right.
But you can just say same thing with like fighting in MMA. Nothing gets you ready for being in the cage to fight another guy when you've only trained under controlled conditions before.
Yeah, you've simulated fights.
You've trained against guys you train with, but you never like fought a guy that you have no idea what he's going to do. Right. You know what I mean? So nothing really gets you ready, but just like that,
being ready gets you ready.
Yeah. Training.
But that drilling that you guys do when you're, something as simple as, block, side, take-down, that's a big deal for a kid to just be able to hold another kid down.
That's what it is. So that like when a kid, especially a kid, when they realize that they could take another kid and throw him on the ground and then hold him and that kid can't get out, or they can take a kid's back and choke him, they're going to carry themselves different than the kid that's never experienced that.
Right.
But then they also know, if they've been trained correctly, that somebody else could do that to them.
And they respect it more.
And they don't go around with the attitude of like, I can
Or
fuck
they-
everybody
or
up.
they shouldn't.
Because
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
class, I can beat that kid and then the other kid can beat me. So they know that there's like a order to things.
There's
that
a
they need
pecking
to-
order. Yeah.
I was single legging the shit out of people all over gravel. It was terrible. Yeah.
So what's the answer?
The answer is training. How long would it take to get them ready for it?
I guess it's different for each kid, right?
It's 100% different. But you just got to do it. Like there's
right. This is a
there's
life.
no- so
this is
there's-
a lifelong
to answer
pursuit.
this guy's question. It's not 10 sessions. And
Right.
It's not a weekend
So
course.
what he's asking is how much money is it going to cost me to get my kids to
I
this
don't
spot?
know about that. I think
Well,
he's just
do you-
wondering like what direction should he be doing speed and agility and boxing, or should he be doing jujitsu, speed, agility, and boxing? Should he be? You know what I mean?
I would say and like I said, I'm not an expert like y'all, but the other part, like stripe testing, when the kids stand in front of, that's building a certain confidence
For sure.
them as well.
Right.
That's not something that happens in the boxing gym. It's different. They're getting taught more mental morals and character molding
Right.
that makes it where they could walk around and handle themselves in the street. It's way better.
I do that with the kids when I give them the stripe. Like we bow and then I shake their hands, and I like first time I did it, all the kids like looked down, so I had to I was like, look me in the eye.
No, 100%.
And
Like
now the kids come up and they're like, they're just like staring me down.
dude,
you
and
know?
we tell like when we end class, we just fist bump the kids and we
Yeah.
tell them good job, and they would tell me good job, and I just stop them right there and I go, your only response is thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've said this a ton of that. I know I did a good job. You are not allowed.
See, he
to
doesn't
tell
even
me.
back down from the kids. He won't even let the kids push him
No,
around.
but if they understand that there's a certain pecking order when we go, and at a certain point, some of these kids, Christian, my daughter, whoever, that when they get old enough and they get a black belt and they're at the front of the class, they're going to realize this is why we did these kinds of things, so that we keep a better order and it doesn't become chaos. But look, I
there's
agree.
no like kind of like what we're just talking about, how like the classes themselves, the getting the stripes and being in front of people prepares them and gives them confidence. There's no like necessarily like specific training that you could do to get a kid ready for a fight in the schoolyard.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where people are cheering and people are screaming and
And there's just
the
more
girl,
on the
the
line.
girl you like is watching, and like all that shit.
And then you're worried about like, am I gonna get in trouble on top
Right.
of this?
But training, and I think especially one of the great things about jiu-jitsu is that you can get a feel for like a full-on violent confrontation without strikes. You know what I mean? Like the person's squeezing you as hard as they
Right.
can. They're
Yeah.
trying to throw you around as hard as they can. And you can resist 100% and
You'll
try your
realize
hardest.
too, like I know he's going to realize it, when this happens, and it will.
Yeah.
Oh man, this kid's not as strong
Right.
as the dudes because
That's one of the craziest things is when you lock up, when you've trained, even for a little bit, and you lock up with somebody that hasn't trained, it's like,
ragdoll time.
yeah. It's like a joke.
Yeah, it's ragdoll.
As long as they're
time.
not like a 400-pound football
Right,
player. or
right,
something.
But
right,
no,
right.
but even with big people, they're
Yeah.
completely surprised at what's going on right
So
now.
I used to train the Philadelphia Flyers, and when we do like certain stuff, and you would 185, 190 pounds, and I'm dealing with 220. Tim was in there sparring dudes, and crazy, and they're like, man, you're tough to move. I was like, yeah, well, I know what the fuck I'm doing. Put me on the ice and ask me to do this.
Right.
It'd be a bit different.
To help this dude, how long has Christian been in the class? What, a year plus?
A year, a couple months, yeah,
So
How many times a week?
2 to 3.
yeah, 2 to
2
3.
or 3 times
Well,
a
now
week?
more.
Well, now,
he's
yeah,
doubling up
yeah,
on sessions.
now-
He's
so-
old enough to take adult classes now too.
Nice.
I am so much more confident. You worry about your kids. I was constantly worried. Like if this happens, I'm being honest. I don't have no worries unless it's like a kid that's older than him. I'm pretty.
Or
I
he
feel
gets
good.
surprised attacked.
Yeah,
like,
I feel okay. Like he can take care of
Right.
himself.
And I think the benefit for me is that my daughter's in that class. So I'm saying everything to these kids that I would say to my own child, right? These are lessons that I'm not just saying for these other kids. My daughter's in here listening to me and seeing what I'm doing and, like that kind of thing. And I want to make sure that if she gets pushed on the playground, she pushes back, right? And that's what we talk about. Like, man, let's level this playing field. If you're going to take the L, take it. This is the other thing is that's why I don't have the kids do any striking sparring just yet. There's no need for little kids to get hit in the head.
Yeah.
I don't see any benefit to it whatsoever.
That was one of the other things that the parent had told me about the other school. She said they would have like 40 kids in a class, one instructor, and they told the kids just to punch to the chest.
But they will always punch each other to the head.
But not just that, but you can get concussions from getting punched in the chest.
Okay.
Like anytime your body shakes and rattles. You know what I mean? So
You only have but so many of those in your system that you could take. There's no need to squeeze it out of a 7 or 8 year old. What's the second part of this question?
Side question. Saying this fight has to happen. Brian Ortega holds the title, which he doesn't, but he could. And Kron is the #1 contender and the only fight to make, which I doubt will happen. Or a title eliminator fight. Let's just say Ortega and Kron get matched up in the UFC. Would Rener corner Brian or relinquish his duties? Brian grew up under the Gracies, and Rener is Kron's cousin.
Yes. Yeah, because
He's
Hickson.
from Steve Wilson, Hellfish black belt.
Right. So my understanding is that Ortega no longer trains with Rener.
Really?
There's been some sort of falling out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
He's been training with him since he was a kid.
I think since a young man, I believe there was some issue. I don't know what the issue is, but I could reach out to my people in LA and find out.
Yeah, find out.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it next week.
Yep. So I do think that if Rener
corners Kron now.
I don't think he would because he hasn't cornered him yet. He's never cornered him for a fight. So,
but he might against Ortega.
Just to throw, that would be such
Depending
mental gamesmanship.
Happened.
Yeah. So, but Steve Wilson, bone up on your news.
But so let's say. So you have, let's say Matt O'Donnell gets matched up against Robbie De La Rianda.
Okay.
Do you corner Matt O'Donnell in a fight, MMA fight,
for the
CFFC title?
If they've agreed to fight each other, I corner Matt O'Donnell. Yes.
Okay.
What am I? I'm not supposed to corner one of my black belts.
But what's his name? He's like from your.
He's from
your black belt. He's your black belt's
brown belt.
Brown belt.
Yeah. And I would expect Chris to corner Robbie.
Okay.
So we just even it out.
Okay.
Right?
So if one's your grandson.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'll read this next one.
Which is weird.
Marco and Tim. Well, boys, you were looking for a new beef and looks like you got one. All of your claims regarding cats are absolutely false. As you mentioned, quote unquote, uneducated individuals fear pit bulls, but you use generalizations in the same way to describe cats. Both of you spoke with such certainty and conviction of why cats are inferior, but I'd like to know about your cat ownership experiences. I've been a dual pet owner, i.e. dog/cat owner, simultaneously for 39 years. How old is he? Does he get pets that long?
Probably 39.
Okay. So I'm pretty much a subject matter expert on ownership of both species. Please provide your pet ownership resume, which can substantiate your outlandish claims. Now get down to business. All right, so let's cover that first.
So I've also for 39 years had most of those, or my childhood was all cats. So I've had several different cats. I've had some that were very nice, some that were very mean. I've had cats that had kittens. I've raised kittens. So I've had guinea pigs. I've had hamsters. I've had all kinds of
I've only
animals.
had a couple pets, never a cat, never a dog, a bird, a parakeet, or whatever, a cockatiel.
Listen, birds are prisoners. Birds are not pets.
Let me finish. Thank you. For a short period of time and a fish or two. So I have very little to no experience as a pet owner.
Yeah. Explains a lot.
Yeah. But here's his argument is that you don't need to be a pet owner to own an opinion on pet ownership. You don't need to be.
I mean, a valid opinion, like an educated opinion.
I mean, just an experienced opinion. His opinion might be more experienced than mine. But this doesn't make it more valid.
You've had roommates that had pets.
Yes.
So you're basically, that's when you have a roommate that has a pet, you're basically, and you're living with the pet.
Yeah, I mean, but I had no, I didn't have to take care of it. I didn't have to do anything for it. So
Meeps,
I just got I don't think Meeps was there, no.
Oh, okay. Because that's it. So I had a cat that was a very sweet, nice cat, and she got, we got her fixed. We got her spayed or neutered, whatever they call it. And when they were gave her too much anesthesia, and she came out kind of like fucked up.
Damn.
like a little bit, but she was the sweetest cat in the world. Like
Malpractice.
no, she was actually better.
Okay.
She was much nicer and just like more docile after that. And she lived forever. We had her for a long time. Then I also had this cat, my first cat named Orange. He was orange, but he was a fucking vicious, like
Psychopath.
yeah, like he would come up, you'd pet him for a second, he would purr, and then he would scratch you or bite you.
You.
Yeah, which is the thing with cats, you never. And if a dog did that, they'd be out of the house instantly. But with a cat, it's tolerated.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That happened. That's how mine was.
Yeah. So, my dad had a cat that it only liked him, and it hated it was vicious towards everybody else, but very like
Hissing.
yeah.
Bite. Hiss. Yeah, my cat was terrible.
Then-
terrible.
Our buddy Bobby has a cat. I don't know if he still does. Hopefully not. This
Yeah,
cat,
I don't know, because
Meeps, was
the worst.
pure psychopath.
Yeah, attacked everybody.
Attacked everybody. Like you lived in fear in the house. It was fucking,
yeah.
and not just attacked everybody. Attacked him. He would he would come down the stairs from like
A
in the
bloody
morning,
mess.
like covered in scratches on his face, and he'd be like, "Oh, Meeps got me again."
Oh hell no.
And not just that, but pissing all over the place.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. The cat
just
ran
a
the house.
vicious animal that ran the house, and that's what I'm like.
His cat had rabies of some sort.
it had something. There was something.
But
wrong
going
with it.
back to this question is that just because I have very little to no experience owning pets doesn't mean that my opinion is less valid than someone that does. It's just that you have more experience in it. My opinion is still a valid one that cats are terrible.
No,
Cats
cats are not terrible.
I'd have to disagree with Marco now.
Yeah, I disagree too. But cats are not terrible.
You guys can be wrong.
No, I'm just saying, like, my opinion on jujitsu has to be less valuable because I just have less experience.
Is his opinion just as valid as yours on jiu-jitsu?
No, it's not.
Yes. No. So it depends on who because your opinion of jiu-jitsu is as valuable to you as my opinion is to me. Now, your opinion becomes less valuable when you're expressing it
Valid.
to me.
We're not talking valuable.
Valuable and
valid.
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 Validated. It becomes less validated. So your opinion when you're talking to jiu-jitsu to me is there's a lot less value and it might be less valid, right?
So when you're giving your opinion to Nicky Pap,
it's
less valid.
Yes.
possibly.
Okay.
To him.
That's okay.
Right,
Moving
okay.
on. Moving on.
Okay.
But do you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make it.
It's like, I don't want to tell the doctor, like, listen, in my opinion, you know what I mean?
Right,
It's
my
like,
opinion, but it
I
doesn't
don't
mean,
have AIDS.
So, but here's the thing: those are facts; those aren't opinions. So, your opinion would be that you have to be a boxing world champion to produce a world champion. That's what a lot of people say. Well, I would, I need to be around these people that are world champions that produce world champions. I need that experience. That's my opinion, right?
there's a fact that you don't have to.
yeah,
do
that's-
that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. But there are people that hold that opinion that, well, I want a boxing coach that has, this kind of experience. You're like, oh, okay, well, that's not necessarily the case.
not a valid opinion.
It's not a valid opinion, right?
Like your opinion on cats.
But it's valid to the guy who holds the
No
opinion,
matter how invalid he might be.
no matter how wrong he might be. All right, so going on. Now, get down to business. Number one, Keenan Cornelius has started a new school called Legion American Jiu-Jitsu. How do you feel about this departure from the traditional BJJ identification? And do you feel other American-born jiu-jitsu black belts will follow this moniker going forward? So there's a second question after that, but we can get into that in a second. I think it's great. I think, we're getting to a point where Americans can take some pride in their influence in jiu-jitsu. I don't think you'll see a lot more people doing it because Keenan Cornelius is famous enough in jiu-jitsu that he could call it American Jiu-Jitsu, open up his own school, and before he's open, claim to already have filled up 100 memberships at his school.
Mm-hmm.
So he could call it whatever the fuck he wants because he's that famous and he doesn't need to call it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, if you're less famous or you don't have the kind of pull that a Keenan Cornelius has, I would recommend staying with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because when people don't know who you are, they don't know who Marco Perazzo is, but they know that he teaches Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I want to learn Brazilian
Does
Jiu-Jitsu.
he own the term American
No.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
No.
Because I think
no.
Jake Shields was using it before.
And there was a time where people were just saying, American Jiu-Jitsu. They're like, there was T-shirts going around.
I made shirts that said Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then it had a stamp that said "Made in the USA." Like I
They
like
had-
that. You know what I mean? Because like
There was a T-shirt going around that said Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Thanks for the sport. We'll take it from here, and then had like a flag of the United States.
I think that's terrible.
Why?
It is.
Why?
It's terrible. It's just why not? Just leave. Just
Well,
because it just seems like a slight.
Why not say that to the Brazilians that took it from the Japanese?
Listen,
Like, why
Right.
not?
I mean, there's some traditions, I get it, but like, I don't think you're being disrespectful because the guys that took it from the Japanese, they don't call it Japanese jiu-jitsu. They call it Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or they call it, even bigger, they call it Gracie jiu-jitsu. They put their last name on it and took it and ownership of it. So I got to respect this dude and saying, I'm taking ownership like you took ownership.
Yeah.
This is your shit just like it's my shit, you know?
I do a collab.
So
It's
why can't I
Brazilian
take
jiu-jitsu.
it and say this is Devin Wade Jiu-Jitsu where my belt scale is just
can.
different?
Hey, you can. You can.
'cause
Who's
I'm
going to stop you?
Because
Then
my
you'd be-
black
you'd-
belt level is just at
But then you'd be-
As you would say,
You'd
trash.
you'd be one of the schools we should watch out for.
But so I don't think a lot of people will do it because there's not so many American guys that could start a school and already have 100 students before they're even open.
Yeah, but I think 50, 100 years from now, I think it'll just be jiu-jitsu.
It'll just be jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And did you see what Keenan's doing with the uniforms from other schools?
Yeah, that's cool.
So some schools mandate that you wear their uniform. So say, we'll use my school as an example, like Tim's school. If you were a student at NJMA or Hellfish, you couldn't wear what gi you wanted to wear. You'd have to buy my gi, right? Buy my rash guard. So this guy's opening the school and he wants to go counter to that, where much like my school, and I don't know what the school color rules are at your school, white, blue, black are the three colors you could wear at my school, but you can wear any gi you want. He's pulling in a lot of students from other schools apparently, and that doesn't happen very often. When you open up a school, you're not typically pulling already established students, but he's so famous that dudes want to train with him. He's that good that these guys that are coming from these mandated school gis, he's buying them from them. So you don't have so
He's buying them and donating them, right?
he's buying them and then donating them to schools in Brazil for poor kids that can't.
He buys the gi and then you wear his gi.
No,
No, you
you
wear
wear any
whatever-
gi. If you want to wear his gi, you can. But if you come in, he's saying, I'm going to give you X amount for gis, X amount for rash guard, like one article. And then if you want to use that to buy his gi, you can, or his rash guard. But what he's going to do is take the gi and the rash guard and send it down in Brazil to some poor kids that can't afford a gi or a rash guard and do it from there. Because
That's dope.
he doesn't like the schools that force or mandate you to wear their colors, so
Like
to speak.
Cobra Kai, everybody's uniform.
Right, yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting that he's doing. Part 2 of this question. How does the Nicky Rod phenomenon play out over time? Does he continue to round out his game and dominate for the next 10 years in jiu-jitsu? Does he transition to MMA, WWE, injury? What does your crystal ball say? Sincerely, Nicky Pap, BJJ Brown Belt, AJJ White Belt, Feline Freedom Fighter, Tim Williams Groupie. He's got a lot of things here.
And these are all, I think, new ones from last time.
Possibly. I just like Nicky Pap. That's what I'm going to keep calling him from now on. Nicky Pap. So how does the Nicky Rod phenomenon play out over time? I don't know. It really depends on if he can keep... He's training with very good people, so I think he's going to get better. I just don't know how much better he's going to get. Because right out of the gate, however long he's been training, because I've got some... So I've gotten some people that couldn't corroborate what you said about him competing in that tournament, and then I had somebody else corroborate that they saw him there at the tournament that you were referencing prior.
Over 2 years ago.
Yeah, over 2 years ago, but they're claiming 16 months. What I would like to see is better matchups for him, right? People that have equal or better skill sets in certain areas.
Well, I think you have to now because he's a ADCC silver medalist, so
Right.
he's bumped himself up to, and he's shown that he can compete against
Very good
the
guys.
top level. But
And I had somebody reach out to me and let me know that there's been other guys that have done this that we didn't name. Like the biggest name that was brought to my attention was Jerry Rinaldi, who took second at ADCC, was a Cornell wrestler, and did the same things that Nicky Rod
way
did.
less jujitsu training.
Probably with way
Yeah.
less jiu-jitsu training, but also with way better wrestling, right? Because my understanding, the guy was a Division I All-American. So there's a match.
Yeah, there was that guy, the Russian guy, Sasha. I forget what his last name was, but he lost to Salo. I think might have beat Salo or lost to Salo. I forget.
Right.
But he, I think, got a silver medal in ADCC. He was just a Russian wrestler.
But see, now there's a match. I'd like to see how Nicky Rod matches up against a guy like Jerry Rinaldi, who's Division I, clearly a very, very good wrestler, very seasoned, silver at ADCC. Now,
well, you can see if you watch his match from the East Coast Trials, he went up against Hudson Taylor.
Okay.
And he lost like 12-4 or something.
Okay.
Like Hudson Taylor is a Division I wrestler, I believe.
All right.
And a purple belt from Marcelo's at the time.
And beat him 12-4.
And beat him fairly. Any of the scrambles, the crazy things that he was doing, Taylor was always ending up on top.
Right.
You know, and it looked fairly easy for Hudson Taylor to out wrestle him.
Right.
Like when it was a matchup of wrestling, there was a couple times where like Nicky Rod kind of like spazzed out and got into better positions.
Right.
But Taylor always ended up in a dominant position.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I'm, like it feels like I'm pushing for this Jerry Rinaldi match, but I think that's something that would be interesting because he was Nick.
That was
2009 that he won ADCC. It was a while ago. He took some time off
I
from
think
training.
Chris Weidman too. Chris Weidman did well in ADCC.
Right.
But this is before he was a fighter. I
Yes.
think that was 2009 as well.
Possibly. So if anybody's listening that wants to make a super fight and wants my advice, Jerry Rinaldi,
He's from Rutgers, right?
Cornell.
Cornell?
Yeah.
Is he a Henzo guy?
He is a Henzo guy, or he was a Henzo guy. I think he trains with Chris Savarese now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's Chris Savarese and Dave Branch possibly. But if you want to make a super fight, I would like to. I would be interested because my understanding is that Rinaldi's back training, and the guy he came out of the gate, took a silver medal. Let's see that matchup. But what happens with Nicky Rod's career? I think it'd be tough for him to get gold moving forward.
It's up to him. I think he should, if he was smart, he would go to WWE or MMA, start making some money. There's way less money in grappling than there is in those two sports.
Unless you're Gordon Ryan or John
yeah,
Donner, right?
but he's not the kind of guy that can, at least not yet, unless he dedicates the next several years of his life to learning like good jiu-jitsu.
Right.
You know?
I would 100 times out of 100 buy a Gordon Ryan DVD set right now before buying a Nicky Rod DVD set.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have much to show.
Right.
Like other than being strong and fast and athletic.
And which is awesome.
He should put out a video on confidence.
And
DVD
right.
on
And what's your workout routine?
Yeah, just like how to be confident in the face of guys that should on paper beat you.
So you're saying he should get into WWE. What do you think of his? If you think MMA is in his future?
I don't know. I doubt it because I think the smartest thing for him to do would be to go to WWE because he's got for the money.
But WWE is like you get ranked based off of where they want to put you at.
Yeah, but I think he's got a somewhat big following already. So for a guy coming into a sport like that already has sort of like a name in another sport, he would be a step above.
Some of my friends tell me like they're in WWE and they're like, we go to the bar and they're talking. It's like, man, you spilled something on Hunter's shoes at a party. You didn't even know he was mad about it, and you're wondering why you can't get a tight. It's like the politics of how you get a belt, and then without a belt, you're not making any money, and you're on the road every day.
These guys are starting from nothing, though.
Not making any money in the WWE is even worse than not making any money in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and submission wrestling. Right?
Yeah, I just think there's more opportunity for him there. Like especially, so right now he doesn't have anything like lined up. He could just dedicate the next couple years to getting better before the next ADCC and make another run at it. Like trying to learn jiu-jitsu, like develop a guard, like that would be interesting to see. I just don't know if he'll do it.
He might. I mean, he's training with the right people, but I don't know. Maybe he might have capped out what he's capable of.
Yeah. But I would say the smartest move, like financially, would probably be WWE.
Right.
Because he does like modeling and stuff. He's like,
I think he was a Wilhelmina guy or something.
Yeah, he's got like, other ways to make money if he doesn't want to just.
Yeah, but he's a popular dude. We talk about him a decent amount on the podcast too.
I like watching him compete.
It's fun. Yeah.
Win or lose, he's fun to watch.
Yeah, he is. All right. Is that it?
That's it.
Peace. Tim and I would like to thank our sound engineer and studio owner, Devin Wade, for always doing a great job with the sound, but also the beautiful facility that we get to use here at SFX Studios. We'd also like to thank Eddie Lynn, who takes and donates his time to the podcast to do all the video editing and everything you see on our social media. So really appreciate that from Eddie Lynn. And we'd also like to thank our friend Ralphie Darden, aka DJ Major Taylor, who gave us the original music that we use. So you're welcome, Tim. For
and almost just as importantly as everybody else that he mentioned, we would like to thank all of our listeners that submitted questions.
This is the Ninja Rob Podcast with Marco Perazzo and Tim Carpenter, the podcast for the true martial artist.